My name's Richard Hale, 68 years old, retired engineer, and a man who spent his life building things. Houses, bridges, a family. But what I couldn't build was my son's judgment. Adam, my only child, had always been sharp, kind, steady. The kind of son a man like me could be proud of. Until he met her. Her name was Chloe, young, beautiful, and so perfect it almost felt scripted. From the first dinner she joined, I knew something was off. She didn't ask about family, she asked about inheritance. "Oh, Mr. Hale," she said sweetly, "Adam told me you built your first house at 30. How many properties do you own now?" I laughed it off, but I noticed the way her eyes calculated, like she was already adding me to her portfolio. Still, Adam was in love, and love makes smart men stupid. They got engaged after 6 months. The wedding was planned in a hurry, too fancy, too fast. I offered to help, but Chloe insisted, "Oh no, you just relax, Richard. You've done enough in life. Let the younger generation handle things." The younger generation apparently meant my credit card. 3 weeks before the ceremony, Adam came by looking uncomfortable. "Dad," he said, "Chloe's worried about our future. The down payment for the new house. She thinks you could—" I didn't let him finish. "Son, if the only way she'll marry you is with my money, you're not gaining a wife, you're buying one." He didn't like that. He left angry. We didn't speak until the wedding day. And that's when everything changed, because right before the ceremony started, while guests were taking their seats and the string quartet was tuning up, Chloe came over to me, radiant, smiling, glowing in her white gown. She leaned close and whispered, "Old man, you're going to buy us that house, or I'm leaving him after tonight." I just nodded, calm, silent. But in that moment, I knew exactly what I was going to do next, because she thought she was marrying into money. She had no idea. She was walking straight into exposure. Stay tuned for part 2. That's when the microphone changes everything. The ceremony went exactly as she planned. White roses, gold chairs, a live harpist playing like we were at Buckingham Palace. Everything screamed money. And that was the point. It wasn't a wedding. It was a performance. I sat in the front row, watching my son beam at her like she hung the moon. I wanted to be happy for him, but all I could see was the calculation behind her smile. The kind that doesn't reach the eyes. When the vows were done and the guests clapped, the music faded and someone handed me the microphone. "Speech time, Mr. Hale." Chloe turned to me, grinning wide. She thought she'd won. I stood, straightened my tie, and took a long sip of water, the kind of pause that makes everyone lean forward. "First of all," I began, "I want to thank everyone for being here to celebrate this beautiful day. Seeing my son so happy means the world to me." A few polite claps, cameras out, the usual. "But before I raise a toast," I continued, glancing at Chloe, "I'd like to share something she whispered to me just before the ceremony." Her smile froze. The crowd went silent. Even the band stopped tuning. I looked directly at her. She said, and I quote, "Old man, you're going to buy us that house, or I'm leaving him after tonight." Gasps, murmurs. Someone dropped their glass. Chloe's face turned white. She stammered, "He's lying." I held up my hand calmly. Now. I'd never want to accuse my new daughter-in-law of such cruelty without proof. Then I took out my phone. "Luckily," I said, "when a man's lived as long as I have, he learns not to take chances." I recorded it. I pressed play. Her own voice echoed through the hall. Word for word, clear as day. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I've ever heard. Chloe covered her mouth. Her bridesmaids froze. My son looked like he'd just been punched in the chest. I set the phone down on the table and said quietly, "Son, love is built on respect. If someone starts by blackmailing your father, she won't stop there." Then I turned to the crowd. "To honesty," I said, raising my glass. "It may not make us rich, but it keeps us free." I walked off the stage, leaving the room in complete shock. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting. "She really said that? Is that recording real? Oh my God." And by the time I reached the door, Chloe wasn't smiling anymore. She was crying. Because the wedding wasn't ruined by me. It was ruined by her own words. But trust me, that wasn't the end. The real fallout came later, and it was brutal. Stay tuned for part 3. The aftermath. The guests started leaving one by one, some pretending to take phone calls, others whispering as they passed. The hall that had been full of laughter 20 minutes ago now felt like a courtroom. Chloe ran out after me, mascara streaked down her cheeks. "You humiliated me," she screamed. "You ruined my life." I turned slowly. "You ruined your own, sweetheart. I just gave you the microphone." My son, Daniel, followed us outside, pale as the wedding cake left untouched inside. "Dad, why would you do that?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Because I'd rather hurt you with the truth today than watch her destroy you tomorrow." He shook his head, angry and confused. "You don't know her like I do." "She's been siphoning money from your business account for 3 months, I interrupted. "The transfers started the week after your engagement." "You want proof? Check your bank statements." He froze. His lips parted, but no sound came out. "I didn't want to believe it either," I said quietly. "So I hired someone to check." "She was preparing to disappear, Daniel. She already booked a one-way flight to Belize for Monday morning, under her maiden name." He staggered back like the air had been punched out of him. Inside, Chloe's mother was trying to calm the guests, spinning lies about a misunderstanding. But no one was buying it. The recording was still echoing through every speaker in that hall. Later that night, I sat on the porch alone, the crickets louder than my thoughts. The front door creaked open and Daniel came out. He didn't say anything at first, just sat beside me. Finally, he asked, "How long did you know?" "Long enough to give her a chance to come clean," I said. "But people like her don't confess. They calculate." He stared into the dark. "I thought she loved me." "She loved what you could give her," I said, "not who you are." He nodded slowly, tears glistening but refusing to fall. I feel like such an idiot. I put a hand on his shoulder. "Being fooled isn't weakness, son. Staying fooled is." We sat there for a while in silence, father and son, both tired, both changed. Then, just when I thought the night was over, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "You think you've won, old man? Watch what happens next, Chloe." I didn't reply, but I knew one thing. She wasn't done yet, and neither was I. The morning after the wedding that wasn't, the town was buzzing. Small towns have big mouths, and every coffee shop, every Facebook group, every street corner had its version of what happened. Some called me a hero. Others called me cruel. I didn't care. The truth has a way of sounding harsh to the people who've lived on lies too long. But Chloe? She wasn't finished. 3 days later, Daniel got served with a lawsuit. From her. Emotional damages, the paper said. Public humiliation, defamation, breach of promise. She was demanding $250,000. The irony made me laugh. The same woman who tried to rob my son now wanted payment for being caught. Daniel came to me that night, shaking. "Dad, what do we do?" I poured him a drink. "We fight fire with documentation." See, when I hired that private investigator, I didn't just get proof of her theft. I had her entire scam history. 3 states, 2 aliases, 1 previous engagement that ended with another man's drained savings account. She was a professional manipulator, and she'd picked the wrong family to play with. I spent the next week gathering everything: her emails, the wire transfers, the fake names, even the Belize ticket confirmation. When her lawyer called, I told him, "Tell your client she's free to take this to court. Just make sure she brings a passport. The FBI might want it after the hearing." 2 days later, the lawsuit disappeared. Just like her. Daniel didn't celebrate. He just sat quietly at the kitchen table, staring at his untouched coffee. "I still don't understand how I didn't see it," he said. "Because you loved her," I said. "Love makes smart men blind." Months passed. He went back to work, moved to a smaller apartment, started rebuilding. I saw flashes of the old him, the one before her, more each day. One evening, he said, "Dad, I finally checked the business account like you told me. She really took nearly $50,000. I smiled sadly. "Then let me tell you the part I didn't before." He frowned. "What part?" "When I found out, I transferred the same amount from my own savings back into your account the day before the wedding. You never lost a dime, son. I just wanted to see if she'd stop once the account looked empty." He looked at me for a long time. Then, for the first time in months, he laughed. Really laughed. "You played her before she even played you." I raised my glass. "No, son. I protected you before she could finish her game." That night, we sat outside again. Same porch, same stars. But everything felt different. He wasn't just my son anymore. He was a man who'd learned the hardest truth, that sometimes love blinds you, but truth rebuilds you. As for Chloe, 6 months later, I got another message, a photo, her mugshot, fraud, grand theft, attempted identity manipulation. The caption read, "Guess she finally got her spotlight." I looked at it for a long moment, then turned off my phone, leaned back, and whispered to myself, "Some people think revenge is loud, but the best kind is justice wearing your silence."